Good morning if this is to block one first, and good afternoon if this is to block four. As you know, I am going to be out today and Monday, will not be back until Tuesday, but I did not want you to miss an opportunity to learn as much science as you possibly could, even though I was going to be gone. And so we do have some business to take care of. Hopefully, everything's going well with you guys today, and you are orienting our guest teacher and doing everything it is that he or she would have you to do. You do have some information that's going to be distributed to you today, some notes that you're going to be taking, some activities that you're going to get done. It is a normal day in biology class, even though I am not present today. Hopefully, you have had a great morning or a great day so far. And what I would like to do is go ahead and get started. And so I want you to forgive me in advance. I'm a little new to this, and so I'm going to be playing around with things as I go along, putting myself down here in the corner to let you know that I'm watching you even as I am absent today. And I would like to go ahead and get started with what it is that we're going to do. So today is Friday, September 27th. If you would, take out your notebooks for me. And also, by now, you should also have a copy of the PowerPoint notes for today. There are some blanks that are in there because you're going to be filling in some blanks as we go along. And some other fun things in store as we go through class today. So our topic today is on cells. And there are two different types of cells that we're going to be discussing, the prokaryotic cell and the eukaryotic cell. Today we are going to focus ourselves on the difference between these two cells. And we are also going to give some general info about the two cells, talk about the structure and function of the prokaryotic cell in particular. And then if we have some time, we're going to get a little bit into germ theory. And so just want to remind you that I did tell you before I left yesterday that you would have a quiz today. And I'm sure that you guys are thinking to yourselves, there's no way we can have a quiz with Mr. Wilson absent. But I have a little surprise here for you. Here it is. Go ahead and get your crying out now and soak up your tears because you will actually still have a quiz today. So what I would like for you to do, in lieu of using the index card, you're actually going to write your quiz answers directly in your notebook. And when I return on Tuesday, I will be checking those quiz answers to see how you did. As always, there are no notes on the quiz, and there should be no talking during the quiz. I'm saying this as a reminder to you and also to allow our guest teacher to know our expectations for quiz time. So there is no talking during this quiz. Once again, the honor code is in effect, and there are no notes to be used on this quiz. And the quiz is only 3 questions. And here it is. I'm going to try to blow it up for you. There you go. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to take a look at this quiz. As you do that, I'm going to turn off the microphone for a second and allow you some time to answer these questions. You do not need to write the questions. All you need to write are the answers. Good luck. This is me again. Hopefully you guys are progressing pretty well on this quiz. I'm going to bring it back in just a moment, but I do want to let you know that your time is running a little short on the quiz. We should look to complete it probably within the next minute or two. Okay, so once again, you're writing your answers directly in your notebook, and you're going to be sure to answer the quiz to the best of your ability. All right, I'm going to give you another minute or two. All right, hopefully you've gotten to a point where you've had enough time to answer these questions. Going to put it back on me now for a second. Hopefully this quiz wasn't too hard. There were 3 questions here that we've definitely covered through our instruction this week, and hopefully you have good answers to these questions. Once again, just want to remind you that the honor code is in effect with this quiz, so even though we're done with it now, and even though I won't be grading it until Tuesday, please do not share your answers with anyone else. Have them to copy your answers. I'm a fairly young teacher, and I know the tricks of the trade, so please do not do that, so that I can give everyone the full credit that they deserve when I come back. All right? Okay, so we're going to go back to the slideshow presentation now. What I would like to do is start us with the first bit of information, and for you, this slide should look a little something like this. And what you will notice is that as you go through the PowerPoint presentation today, that there are some blanks on your presentation, and these blanks can be filled in by what I'm doing here on this presentation. So what I'm going to do is, like I would normally do in class, I'm going to walk you through this information and talk about it briefly as we go through. A lot of this should be review to you from what you have done in life science in middle school. However, I don't assume that you guys have learned everything that it is that you need to know. That's why I'm here doing this in the wee hours of the night for you. And so I'm going to go through this fairly quickly, but not so quickly that you can't keep up. Okay? So we're going to start off with this slide right here. This should be the first main slide of text that you have for your presentation today. And we are highlighting the differences between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. And the very first difference that you will notice is that a prokaryotic cell is the smaller, more simple cell between the two. Okay, they are commonly known as bacteria cells, and so we will pretty much use these terms interchangeably as we go through the course. We will say that a prokaryote, the only example of that is a bacteria, and we will also say bacteria, all bacteria are prokaryotic. And so if you can remember bacteria as the only organism that fall under this category, you'll be in great shape. And knowing that bacteria are really small should help you out to remember this as well. Okay, they are about 10 to 100 microns in size, and a micron is 1/100,000th of a meter, and so it's extremely small. It's something that you cannot see with the naked eye. It is something that you need a microscope to be able to look at, and so you can kind of remember micron with the term microscope. And then all prokaryotic cells are single-celled, and another term for that is unicellular. All of them are single-celled or unicellular organisms. Okay. I did forget to tell you that if you have any questions as you go through class today, and I have a little avatar for that one, it's this one right here. Any questions as you go through class today, please, please, please make sure that you write them down in your notebook, jot them down. I do want to be able to answer all of those questions when I return on Tuesday. Your questions are important to me, so please make sure you write them down as we go along. And one more thing, one rule to remember, there should be absolutely no sleeping during this class today. I'm taking all the time I can to make sure that you are caught up and prepared. So please, let's be respectful. Let's not go to sleep so that I don't have to return to you like this when we come back. All right. So please make sure that you're doing everything it is that you're supposed to do. I know I'm a little corny, but you guys are used to that already. Okay. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. So this slide here just gives you a little classification of how we can remember what is considered a prokaryote and a eukaryote based upon the kingdoms. And I'm going to supersize this a little bit. We see, just like I said before, that prokaryotes are the bacteria. And if we were to look at this in terms of kingdoms, there are two different kingdoms of bacteria that can be combined into one overall kingdom. Okay, these two kingdoms are the eubacteria, which means the true bacteria, the everyday ones that we see and operate with in our everyday lives. And then we have the archaebacteria, and these are the more primitive bacteria, the ones that are found in extreme places, like extreme temperature, extreme pH, extreme salinity, which is salt concentration, and those types of places. Together, these two kingdoms make up the kingdom Monera. And then every other organism that is alive is considered a eukaryotic organism. And we're going to basically distinguish these by saying prokaryotes have no nucleus and eukaryotes have a nucleus. Okay, so all of these organisms that we see right here, protista, fungi, plants, and animals, are all considered eukaryotic organisms. Okay. Next up, we have some advantages of each type of cell. And you'll see that being a prokaryote and a eukaryote has its advantages, that they also have their focus on the good things about both of these types of cells. Prokaryotes, again, are bacteria, and because they are bacteria and are really small, they are really simple and easy to grow. They divide really quickly, and they divide by a process called asexual reproduction, which means that they do not require a partner. And because they do not require a partner, they can reproduce really quickly, and they are all the same. Every bacteria that replicates is making an exact copy of what it started with. This can be a good thing because it's fast to reproduce. It can also be a bad thing, and we'll talk about that a little bit later as to why it can be a bad thing. Eukaryotes, on the other hand, can differentiate, and this word simply means that they are able to come together and work together to make more advanced organs or tissues or structures. Okay, so they can differentiate. They can start as one thing and end up as something completely different than what it started with. There's also a concept of multicellularity. Multi meaning many cells working together for a common purpose, maybe to serve as a tissue, or maybe to serve as an organ or an entire organism, just depending upon what it is that we're looking at. And then finally, they can build large bodies. That is an advantage because everything is not microscopic. There are some things that can be seen with the naked eye, and eukaryotic cells are the ones that focus their attention on that. Okay? I'm going to pause here for a brief moment and give you a chance that if you have any questions or anything like that, you can take the time to do that. Once again, if you have any questions, this would be the time to write
accomplish that by using its capsule. Okay. There's also a cell wall, and just like it would be for plants, it is an outer layer of the cell that is responsible for protection and support. And so prokaryotic cells are much like plant cells in that they do have a cell wall, just like a plant, okay, for protection. And there's also a cell membrane, and we're going to see that is towards the inside of the structure. And the cell membrane serves the same function in every organism, and that is to allow things to come in and out of the cell, in and out of the cell, which is going to be very important to us as we continue on. Okay, so these are the first three organelles: the capsule, the cell wall, and the cell membrane. Okay, now we're going to focus our attention on this next slide that talks about a couple of more organelles, and so I'm going to expand this for you to see a little better. The first is the cytoplasm, and the cytoplasm is the inner liquid. It is the fluid that is found inside of the cell, and the cytoplasm is more than just a jelly-like substance, as you may have learned it in middle school. The cytoplasm actually allows for, I know you guys are going crazy right now because I'm going back between me and the slide, but stay focused. I'll be back on it in a second. The cytoplasm allows for all cellular chemical reactions to take place. So last unit we talked about enzymes. A ticket will go to the person that can tell me what an enzyme is right now. What macromolecule does it belong to? I probably got you talking to the screen right now. Hopefully you guys remember it is a protein, and enzymes are catalytic proteins, which means that they break things down and they speed up chemical reactions. And so all of those reactions that we talked about for enzymes already take place in that cytoplasm. And so it's a very important medium. It is not just a jelly-like substance. It's also where chemical reactions take place. I would write that down as an additional note if you're one that's trying to write down the important stuff that I'm saying. Okay. There's also DNA that's found within this organism. And remember, we said DNA is a characteristic of life. It is found in one big continuous loop, very important for the reproduction of this bacterial cell. That is in one continual loop, is easy to copy, easy to replicate. There are also pili here on the outside. The singular of this would be called pilis, and pili, it means that there are many of these structures to the outside, and this is for also adherence. So you had the slime found in the capsule that was for sticking and adhering to things, and you have the pili that is for anchorage and sticking as well. This structure here is hard to miss. It is called the flagellum. It would be called flagella if there were more than one, but since there's just one of these here on this picture, I'm going to call it a flagellum, and it's for swimming or for locomotion. And then finally, every cell that is a living cell has ribosomes, and ribosomes are for building proteins. And just to help you remember, proteins are several amino acids put all together by peptide bonds through dehydration synthesis. Don't forget that water comes out, the molecules come together to fulfill the bonding requirements, and then you have one continuous chain of proteins that we would call a polypeptide. That same thing is happening right here in the cell. There's no different. We're just giving a name to the organelle that actually builds those, and that's called the ribosome. So right now you should have cytoplasm, DNA, pili, flagellum, ribosomes, capsule, cell membrane, and cell wall, all covered for the prokaryotic cell. To be so simple, it does have a lot of organelles that work within it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go to slide 12. We don't have many more to go. Okay, for this one right here, what we're looking at is the lifestyle of a prokaryotic cell. How does it live its life? How does it do? Sorry about that. Let's go. Told you I was probably going to mess up at some point.
There we go. Put it right there. How does this cell allow itself to work the way that it does? And so prokaryotic cells are pretty simplistic when it comes to their lifestyle. Most of the time they are unicellular, which means that they are all alone. I believe that you guys call that dolo. They're all by themselves, going through and living the life as well as they can. They can also form in colonies, okay, and that means that they form on a film, and that film is the slime film that was found in the capsule. So they can also form on a film. And then finally, they can be what we call filamentous, which means that they form a colony of cells. They work in links and chains all together. This picture over here in the purple is a characteristic chain of bacteria that will cause strep throat. And around this time of year, strep throat is a major problem. And so right now, the way I'm talking, it sounds like I have that. It's a combination of late night voice plus getting some sort of sickness just from being back in school. And so strep throat does tend to orient itself like what we saw in that picture right down here. Okay. Almost done, guys. We have 3 more slides to go, and then I'm going to give you some instructions. Let's go to this one right here about the feeding of prokaryotic cells. Prokaryotic cells can feed in one of 3 ways. They can be photosynthetic, and you guys know what photosynthesis is. It's all about energy that's found from the sun. Okay. They can be disease-causing, which means that they can feed on living things. They can actually use living things as a host and feed upon them to get their nutrition. And then finally, they can be decomposers. And you guys have probably learned about decomposition since elementary school. Another word for this for our class would be a saprotroph, and we'll learn that when we get to ecology much later in the semester. But for now, just remember that decomposers are those things that feed on dead things. Okay, so once again, photosynthetic, they can be disease-causing, or they can be decomposers. This is a good time for me to pause and just to make sure that we are staying focused, that we are doing everything it is that we need to do. Hoping that you are appreciating this instruction today and that you are taking it to heart, knowing that everything it is that I am covering today and Monday you will be quizzed on Tuesday when I return. All right, so we don't waste any time or play any games. We know that we have big things coming up. And so just making sure you're staying focused and give you a chance to breathe and take it all in before we go to our last 2 slides. Okay? Let's go to slide number 3 here. Okay? And this one is just going back and talking about the other types of cells, because to this point, everything that we have discussed has been about the prokaryotic cell. At this time, we're going to focus on the eukaryotic cell, which are the more bigger and more complicated type of cell. All right. The reason why they're bigger, the reason why they're more complicated right off the bat is because they have what we call membrane-bound organelles. Every organelle that we talked about just a second ago from the prokaryotic cell was one that can also exist in the eukaryotic cell. The difference is that the prokaryotic cell does not have membranes around those organelles. They are not as specialized, not as organized, not as complex. The eukaryotic cells, however, do have these. They are more complex. They are bigger. They perform more complex operations and more complex functions. And so they need a membrane that's going to surround them, protect them, allow for all the reactions to take place that need to take place. Okay? Eukaryotic cells also have chromosomes. Instead of just one big loop of DNA, it has chromosomes that are found there within the center of the cell, within a nucleus. Now, eukaryotes can be both multicellular and unicellular. And so it is not the case that only eukaryotic cells can be multicellular. Actually, that is the case. I'm sorry. Prokaryotic cells cannot be multicellular. Eukaryotes can be both multicellular and unicellular. So what I should have said is that prokaryotes are not the only types of cells that can be composed of just one cell.
Eukaryotes can as well. The thing that's going to define the difference between these two is the presence of these membrane-bound organelles and also a nucleus. And then most commonly, these include both plant cells and animal cells. Plant and animal cells. Okay. And we have one final slide, and that's this right here. Thank you for your patience today. You've done a great job, I'm sure. One thing that can help you remember what prokaryotic cells stand for is the fact that the word pro before prokaryotic means before. It literally means before. And karo means nucleus. Excuse me. So these types of cells were those that were around before the nucleus. And so if you're thinking right now, which I hope you are probably considering the fact that the prokaryotic cell is the oldest living cell that's out there. It is the one that's been around the longest. And every other cell that we have, every other organism, as a matter of fact, that we have, has essentially evolved from that prokaryotic cell. It was the first one that was in existence. It is the oldest. It is the most primitive type because it was a cell that was around before the nucleus. Finally, I alluded to this earlier, but we do know that bacteria are able to cause many diseases, and so we're going to call this loosely the germ theory. When I come back to class on Tuesday, I will give you more evidence besides just saying bacteria causes disease. But what you need to know about the germ theory for right now is that bacteria are the major causes of many of the diseases that are out there today. Okay, so I'm going to put this back on my face at this time, and this is the first time that I've zoomed in quite like this. What I want to do now is let you know that you're done with your notes for today. You have finished a quiz, you have your notes. You should be studying these notes that I gave you over the weekend so that when we come back together on Monday and you have one more video like this on Monday for eukaryotic cells, you will feel prepared. You will be ready for my return on Tuesday when I give you a quiz. Okay? One thing that I do want to tell you now is you do have an assignment. You cannot sit here for the rest of class doing nothing. You have completed these notes and you have completed a quiz, and that's great, but you have one more thing to work on. That is a prokaryotic coloring activity, and all of you guys should have a copy of that as well. It is 6 pages long. I know that that is a bit lengthy. I'm sitting here now looking through my notes trying to find one for you. Here's an example of one sheet of the 6 pages right here. I do have a copy of it sitting right here. And so at this time, our guest teacher is going to make sure that you get that packet. The name of it, just in case there's an issue, is Prokaryotes Bacteria. It is 6 pages long. It's going to give you some directions, and it's going to have some questions that you're going to answer, and you're going to do some coloring as well. Okay. Anything that you do not finish in class today will be due for homework when I return on Tuesday. So just make sure that if you don't complete it today in class, that's no big deal. Just take it home, finish it at home. You have another day on Monday, and you're going to get another packet for eukaryotic cells. Just make sure that you're keeping up, okay? Make sure that your communication is about science, is about biology, that is staying focused. I will let you know that next week, as far as announcements go, we do have another test on the 4th of October. That is the end of this unit. And you also have to take your benchmark exam, and that's going to take place, I believe, on the 2nd of October. It's either the 2nd or the 3rd. I'll let you know for sure when I get back. But just be prepared, because there are some assessments coming, and we are further along in the semester than we've ever been. So thank you for your hard work. Thank you for paying attention today. I do miss you. I will be back soon, and you guys take care, all right? Make me proud and do whatever it is that you need to do. Take care. Have a great day.